This conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready, Casey?
Yeah, we're good to go.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Monday, September 14th, 2020. It is 3 o'clock, and we are having our meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners meeting today. It has been just a really hellacious week in Lincoln County. I think everybody can agree to that. On top of COVID and the worldwide pandemic we're in, we have also faced significant wildfires on the north end of the county this week, with almost all of Lincoln City evacuating later, or I should say earlier in the week. I don't even know what day it is today. Sorry, I guess that was last week. So we do have some things to go over today, but I think the most important thing is just for everybody to know that we are working as hard as we possibly can on trying to do what we can with this situation. So we do have some updates and stuff to our emergency declarations and things we will be considering today around that. But first off, again, we just want everyone to know that we are working as hard as we can on this, and we are glad that the winds and the weather have been in our favor here the last several days. All right, first up, we have our reclamation and proclamation. First is Resolution 2014-9A, our 2020 Recovery Month, presented by Sarah Hurd, Health Education Specialist, and our harm reduction outreach worker. So take it away, Sarah.
Okay, so I have to apologize. This is the first proclamation I'm done, and I don't have it in front of me to read it.
Well, we can actually read it for you, so that's fine.
Okay.
But if you have something you wanted to say beyond the proclamation itself about the work you are doing or what's happening in the community on this particular issue, I think we'd love to hear from you.
Perfect. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having us here on this today. You know, each year in September is a time for the recovery community to celebrate all the hard work and effort that they put into preventing and treating and recovering from mental illnesses and from addictions. So often at this time, I think we talk about the Hands Across the Bridge, which is just being done a little different this year, given the pandemic and the current environment that we're in. So the community has really come together and created a lot of small events throughout the month, throughout the county, to host things outdoors in a safe manner. So for example, Chance is putting on a tie-dye event to tie-dye face masks. Behavioral Health and the ESA program is doing a recovery altar at the beach and a mindfulness program. POT is doing a drug take back down in Waldport at the end of the month. There'll be a beach cleanup. So just lots of small events. So if anybody's interested, we have information on the health promotion page on the website and events in Facebook. So just we want to encourage people to go out and help those that you care about to connect with local resources and build those environments at home and in your community with your family that helps promote wellness for your friends and family. So it's just a unique month this year, and I think it's really opening a roadmap for us to do some more things each year to celebrate those connections.
Thank you, Sarah. Do I have a commissioner that wants to read the proclamation?
Madam Chair, I'd be glad to.
Okay, take it away, Commissioner Hall.
Whereas behavioral health is an essential part of health and one's overall wellness, and whereas prevention of mental and substance use disorders works, treatment is effective, and people recover in our area and around the nation, and whereas preventing and overcoming mental and substance use disorders is essential to achieving healthy lifestyles, both physically and emotionally, and whereas we must encourage relatives and friends of people with mental and/or substance use disorders to implement preventative measures, recognize the signs of a problem, and guide those in need to appropriate treatment and recovery support services. And whereas to help more people achieve and sustain long-term recovery and learn how recovery positively benefits well-being, the Prevention Coalitions of Lincoln County, PADA, and CEDAR together with the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians, Lincoln County Health and Human Services, Seashore Family Literacy Center, Celebrate Recovery, Chance, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, Reconnections, Discovery Counseling, Samaritan, and many local treatment and recovery support organizations are sponsoring events to celebrate recovery and wellbriety during the 30th annual National Recovery and Wellbriety Month, including virtual events and meetings, a local social media campaign using hashtag Lincoln Recovers, and multiple small events throughout the county. Now, therefore, we, the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim September 2020 as National Recovery and Wellbriety Month and encourage citizens to celebrate recovery, spread the word, and support these community efforts.
Thank you for reading that, Commissioner Hall. I will make a motion that we adopt this proclamation.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. If I may, Chair Jacobson, I'd like to make a comment. I think
Go
there are a
ahead.
couple of things that are noteworthy. Number one, I know in the last few years, there's really been an effort to get out of the office, if you will, and get out into the communities of our county so that we're actually in an environment where the people in need actually are. And I think that makes our programs much more effective. And I'll emphasize the fact that the development of coalitions has been, I think, extremely successful in the last few years. And as is stated in the proclamation, these coalitions consist of the Lincoln County Pata and Cedar, Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians, the Lincoln County Health and Human Services, Seashore Family Literacy Center, Celebrate Recovery, Chance, and Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, Reconnections, Discovery Counseling, Samaritan, many other local groups. And again, I think that's tremendous progress that we've seen over the last few years.
Well stated, Commissioner Hunt. Anything else you'd like to say, Commissioner Hall?
No, very glad to have a chance to support and highlight this wonderful work that's a true community partnership.
Great, thank you. Anything else from you, Sarah?
I don't think at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming here and having us help you celebrate this month. Much appreciated. All right, moving on, I think we have another proclamation.
Madam Chair, I believe we need to
yes.
vote to formally adopt the proclamation.
We already did.
Oh, we
I
did?
think we did,
Yes.
yeah.
Wow,
We did.
okay,
Yeah.
too much.
We
My
were so
fault.
efficient, I had to comment afterward.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's what threw me. Okay, I'm sorry.
We did.
And I'll be
Sorry.
happy to read this next proclamation if Christy or Casey will scroll down when I get near the bottom. So this is in the matter of proclaiming September 2020 as Suicide Prevention Month in Lincoln County. Whereas September 2020 is National Suicide Prevention Month, when millions of people around the world join their voices to share a message of hope and healing. And whereas in these challenging times, messages of hope and healing are more needed than ever, amen. And whereas every day in Lincoln County, people enter treatment into behavioral health services and community supports and begin the road to wellness. And whereas resiliency begins in life within families, daycares, and schools, and can be strengthened and reinforced throughout the lifespan. Okay, where was I? You lost me there by moving it. Whereas wellness encompasses the whole individual, including mind, body, spirit, and community. And whereas the benefits of preventing and overcoming mental health challenges, suicide attempts, and loss, and substance abuse are significant and valuable to individuals, families, and our community at large. And whereas it is essential that we educate residents about suicide, mental health, and substance abuse problems and the ways they affect all people in the community. And whereas we must encourage relatives, friends, co-workers, and providers to recognize the signs of a problem and guide those in need to appropriate services and supports. And whereas Suicide Prevention Month inspire millions of Americans to raise awareness build really resiliency, and find hope. Now, therefore, the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim the month of September 2020 as Suicide Prevention Month, finding hope, building resiliency, supporting recovery.
Thank you, Commissioner Hunt. I will make a motion that we adopt the proclamation as read.
I'll second it.
All in
And-
favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Do we have Sina? Is that you that wants to make a comment about this? Okay, go ahead.
Sure. Thank you again. What stressful times that most of us thought maybe we were prepared for emergencies, but perhaps not all at once. Just recognizing the vulnerability with the increased stress and isolation our community's feeling. I know our own team is feeling it with 15 of our staff who were evacuated, and just the ability to, I think, thwart stigma, talk about suicide, ask friends, ask family. All of our staff have worked with school staff to be trained in recognizing early signs. Sarah Hurd is also a QPR trainer in our community. We've partnered with schools, child welfare, doing a lot of outreach currently. I'm just grateful we were able to set aside this month and really honor the need, the awareness that's needed, and the ability to talk about something that can be taboo and is certainly deadly. Sarah, did you want to add anything?
Well, thank you for that. I would just add that suicide, while every death by suicide is a tragedy, it is something that can be preventable in most cases. And it is important that people talk to your friends and family, as Sina said. Let them know, let people you know that their life is valuable and that there's help, and connect them with those resources. So I would just like to share on this call today that the local crisis line number here for Lincoln County is 1-866-266-0288, and our National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-TALK or 8255. And there's people available 27 hours a day. It feels like that, 24 hours days a week. So thank you for having us for this proclamation as well.
Yes, thank you. We do have mental health, the behavioral health staff out in the community currently with their sleeves rolled up and boots on the ground as well. Open hearts and open ears. Thank you kindly.
Thank you. I would just say that, you know, I know this number for the crisis hotline, excuse me, is already out there in the community, but given what we're currently going through, I think it might be a nice time, a very timely time to maybe work with Casey, who I know is very busy, but work with him and maybe do an additional press release and just flesh it out again. So that it's, you know, fresh in people's minds, and that number is floating to the surface of news feeds and that kind of stuff, because as you said, it is a really difficult time in our community. So I feel like making sure that this number is, you know, readily available and just kind of in the forefront of people's brains, I think would be really helpful. So maybe you guys can work together and have that go out either today or maybe sometime tomorrow, just so that everybody's got it.
We can do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hunt, anything else you'd like to say?
No, I just would emphasize, as you've done, Chair Jacobson, there are a variety of support services available. Many of those numbers are listed on our website. They are in Spanish and English. They encompass teens, disaster, suicide, alcohol and drugs, youth. So those services are available out there, and I would encourage people to access them if they feel a need.
Commissioner Hall, anything you would like to add?
No, except this is a very important topic. Again, unfortunately, one that still has a lot of stigma attached to it. So I think the more that we can do to bring to light how pervasive the problem is and that there is help, resources, and support available, the more good we do.
Yeah, and thank you to the both of you for all the work that you're doing. And I know that you have stepped it up this week and have been kind of fed into the emergency management process and into the call center and making sure resources are out there for people. So much appreciated on that, as we know that as damage assessments are done and people receive information on their home, it's going to be a really difficult time for many people in our community. So thank you for being on standby and ready to support these families and these individuals through this time. All right, next up is the adoption of the consent calendar.
It looks like we don't have any items. Is this a first?
I was going to say, I haven't been here as long as of the two of you, but this is the first for me. So no consent calendar today, I guess.
Yep.
Next up under reports, the first item we have up is a Echo Mountain Complex fire update. Is that Sheriff Landers providing that?
Good afternoon, commissioners. Curtis Landers, Lincoln County Sheriff. I can definitely start. And I didn't know where to start with the report. Obviously, it's been a long week, as the three of you know, and we continue work up there. I think that's one thing to do, and we're making progress. As far as the fire is concerned, they have it contained. I haven't seen the latest, but it was 20% yesterday contained. We have rain coming in, and that's going to be definitely a welcome piece for the whole response to this. It's interesting, just some notes that I've noticed, that the fire's still burning, and I know a lot of people want to get back in some area, but the fire's still burning. I was up Highland doing some looking at for some residences to let them know if their house was good or not. And I walked up one driveway and came back out, and I looked over at this tree, and the tree is literally still on fire. It's not just smoldering, it's on fire, and that's just up on Highland. So, you know, a lot of people want to get back into these areas. They want to check on their homes and property. We understand that. Fire crews are still working. A lot of tree removal that's going on. That is kind of limiting access to a lot of areas. I did hear that Highway 18, they're hoping to have that open very shortly, at least with pilot cars to get people around the work areas. I know that assessment teams from Idaho are here. We we requested, I think, 4. One arrived late last night, 2 more arrived, so we're up to 3 assessment teams, and they're actually working very quickly. I was actually, when I heard the update before I left to come down to brief you on this, that they had done all the area on Highway 18, so Salmon River Trailer Park, so trying to get that part open so that people can still travel through the area. And so they'll be working their way in. They're still leaving Highland because it's active fire area. The area up off of 50th, off East Devils Lake Road, is still an active fire area. So there's still a lot of area that they'll have to come back to, but they're going to get into that North Bank Road area, Panther Creek, Yodel Lane, which will take them considerable amount of time. It's difficult just to try to visualize for you what it really looks like and how difficult a task it is for them to go through the assessment. Just, if anything, just to know where they're at, what address they're at, so they can properly document in the GIS systems. National Guard arrived. They are manning staffing the roadblock areas that we have. That's allowing sheriff's deputies to go around and do basically if someone wants to know if the condition of their home, they can call the call center 541-265-0621. We'll log that, and we'll get out there as quickly as we can and determine and give them a call back on the condition of their home. I'll let you know that when I left up there, we were at over 200 requests. So it is a daunting task that they're trying to do. And we have a couple people that are going in zones. We kind of broke it up and really actually going through every address in that area so that it's documented to hopefully make it quicker when somebody calls in. So we're not finding, up in the area, looking at houses and then going back down, finding out we need to go back up and check another one. So they're really actually trying to go through checking all the areas, so when one comes in, we'll be able to look at the address and quickly determine if it is or not. But we have people in the command post that all they're doing is getting reports back from deputies and making those calls, whether it's good for the citizen or not. So again, some of the things we talked about earlier, grief counseling, this type of thing is definitely going to be needed. Again, just on some personal notes that I've experienced at the command post, a lot of people know where the command posts are. They're driving by and trying to get information and just give us different things, that requests that they're wanting. I was there standing outside. Some gentleman came by, and it was really heartbreaking because he was trying to deliver a message. He started breaking down that his house had been completely destroyed by fire, but he wanted us to do a task for him, and you know, it's just it's hard to imagine. I just can't imagine my house being not there anymore. And again, my heart goes out to him. It's got to be. I know it's emotionally draining on the first responders. I know there's some first responders that their homes were affected, and then for the public when they come up, it's difficult. So we do have chaplains from the sheriff's office that are up in the area at the command post, not only for first responders, but for anybody in the public. If they need something right away, they're able to help with that. So I think that's also beneficial. So I think, again, I didn't have a prepared report. I apologize for that. But if you have any questions specifically that I can try to answer, I will definitely do that.
Commissioner Hall, questions?
None at this time.
Commissioner Hunt?
Yes, Sheriff, you know that I've been in a call center last few days, and one of the frequent questions I get is the rumor that you know, looters are looting houses. Could you respond to that?
Sure. Yeah, I know those rumors are going around. Deputies are in the area 24/7 to prevent that. But we also can be fairly confident that hasn't occurred. Any suspicious activity that we are getting reported to us or that we are seeing just on our routine patrols in the area, we are addressing. And so far, we have not seen any evidence that there's any looting or other property damage except for by the fire in that area. So again, that's one of our priorities right now, is to ensure that doesn't occur. It's again another reason why we're keeping the areas closed at this time for people to come back, and again with the patience of people. I know they want to get back in and see their property, whether it's, you know, still standing or not, and we understand that, but there's still a lot of process we need to do, and again, active areas. But again, that's another reason we're going around and kind of doing a quick survey of the area before the assessment teams come in, not only with fire damage to make sure there's not other damage, again, caused by looters or other activity going on in the area. We haven't seen any evidence of that yet.
Okay, thank you. I knew that was the case, but I thought it would be good for people to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add for people listening that you know, have not already called in to make a request for their property to be checked on, that the process for doing that is to call the call center, and that number is 541-265-0621, and it's open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. And so you call that number and basically say that you would like your property to be checked on, and then there's a form that the person on the call center will kind of fill out on your behalf. So I think Sheriff Landers said that 200 reports had been made, but when I left the call center just a little bit ago, we were actually at 300 calls specifically filling out that form. So beyond just wanting your property checked on, it is a really good source of information to call on understanding where your property is in relation to the current evacuation maps, having people check on how you actually would get home. There's been a lot of those calls. You know, I'm in a yellow zone or I'm in a white zone, but I'm not sure if I can even get back with highways, or I have an animal that needs to be checked on, even though I can't go back. So that really is a good source of information. These are local volunteers from the community or from the county, so they know the area well. And sometimes there's even some friendly voices on the other line that you know. So just a reminder to people that might be listening to this and have additional questions or want information, the call center is a great resource.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. And that just reminded me too with the animal services, and we've had all 3 of our animal services deputies the animal shelter employees, Laura Broxley, Animal Services Director, assisting with the request. And a couple days ago, they were the busiest out of anybody as far as following up on public requests and making sure that any animals that were left behind are being cared for and fed, and they will definitely provide that service if you need to. And again, call the call center, we'll arrange that. One other thing that I just saw come through in my email that I think it's important, and I imagine you received it too, commissioners, but just to pass on that the governor has made the major disaster declaration request to the FEMA, and that is for both public assistance, for any assistance for like our overtime, fire, public roads, anything that happened with that, but also individual assistance. And I think that's good. And our county was listed with the other affected counties around the state. So that's the first step for getting assistance for reimbursement for our purposes, but also if your home has been destroyed, that's the first step to get that process started with FEMA.
Thank you for that. Council Belmont, did you have additional things you wanted to bring up during our fire update? I believe you did.
Yes, Chair Jacobson. We actually have 4 things that we need to talk about very briefly. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Hall, who has just a general, I think, can supplement the information the sheriff provided, an update on some of the activities we've done, as well as a request concerning a state park and an action that you could take to support an effort to open one of the state parks for people. And then I have 2 items related to this. One is a continued, really kind of an updating of our emergency declaration. And I appreciate, Sheriff, your update, because I haven't even been able to incorporate that stuff into mine, but it's just kind of following through with some of the stuff to keep us up to date on our declaration, and then a specific request that deals with solid waste. So I'll turn it over to Commissioner Hall to start with.
Okay. Thank you, my colleagues, and I did have this prepared summary and overview, and my apologies that some of it may be duplicative of what's just been discussed. The Lincoln County Emergency Operations Center was activated early last Tuesday morning as the Echo Mountain and Kimberly Mountain fires began their rapid spread. In addition to county emergency management, the county road department, the sheriff's office, local fire districts, state agencies, utility companies, and others all mobilized to begin fire suppression and emergency evacuation efforts. At 7:30 that morning, the Board of Commissioners met in an emergency session to declare a state of emergency due to the fires, giving us greater flexibility and access to state and federal resources to deal with the situation. As of this morning, the Oregon Department of Forestry reported the fire to now be 25% contained and said it remains at 2,345 acres in size. Firefighters have been battling dense fuels and difficult terrain to complete the fire line. Numerous businesses, churches, nonprofit agencies, and individual volunteers, far too numerous to list, also started stepping forward to help, providing shelter, food, clothing, and other essential needs to displaced people. The Red Cross, assisted by the county's Director of Mass Care and Essential Services and local volunteers, operated a congregate shelter at the Newport Recreation Center due to a significant portion of Lincoln City being in the evacuation zone. With more people staying in motels or with friends and family, the shelter closed yesterday, and this morning the Red Cross opened a service assistance center at the Lincoln City Recreation Center in order to have a base of operations closer to displaced individuals. Horses and livestock have been sheltered at the Lincoln County Commons, and our Lincoln County Animal Shelter staff has been providing food, crates, and litter for companion animals. Now, people in need of supplies or who need someone to check on and feed their animals can call the shelter during daytime business hours or non-emergency dispatch after hours. The County Emergency Management Office was quickly swamped with phone calls from members of the public seeking information. So we mobilized the informational call center that's been opened. It opened up 8 o'clock last Wednesday morning. It's going to continue to operate 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It is staffed by county and community volunteers. And as mentioned before, it can be reached at 541-265-0621. Now, despite the progress on containing the fire, as we've discussed, several hundred properties remain in the evacuation zone due to hazardous conditions, including trees that continue to be in danger of falling and rolling debris. And fire officials are saying it's still going to be several days before the area will be considered safe enough to open. As the sheriff mentioned, that deputies began making the status checks and notifications today. You can either phone the call center, or if you are tech savvy, go directly to the county website, and there is a link where you can fill it out yourself. And again, we want to appeal to the public for patience with several hundred calls coming in and deputies having to deal with other priorities. They will make the checks as soon as possible, but just keep that in mind. Communication has been a priority from the beginning of this event. Information has been posted on the county website, the county's social media pages. News releases have been sent to local media outlets who have been a major partner in informing the public. Our Lincoln Alerts emergency notification system provides telephone, text, and email emergency notifications to the public. Right now, more than 14,000 individuals have opted into that system, and that includes about 3,000 who have signed up just since Tuesday. If you're still not signed up, we encourage you to go to the county website and you can find the details there. Again, I think it's important for everyone to keep in context that none of this is happening in isolation. Oregon is in the midst of the worst wildfire season in recorded history, with nearly 1 million acres burning. At one point a few days ago, more than 10% of the state's population was under some level of an evacuation order. All of this means that outside resources, which are often a part of disaster response, are scarce to non-existent. Although containment of the fire is in sight, the work of recovery is just beginning and will continue for months to come. We're beginning to explore options for long-term housing placements and other ongoing needs. I'd like to offer a personal salute, and I'm sure my fellow commissioners and everyone else on this line will join me in this. A big thank you to all the first responders, businesses, churches, and other individuals who've stepped forward to help their Lincoln County friends and neighbors in this great hour of need. And as to the letter that Council Belmont mentioned, we were contacted in this office this morning about appealing to Oregon Parks and Recreation to open up the Devils Lake State Park campground for emergency camping. That campground has been closed due to the funding crisis facing state parks. Representative Gomberg told us that a formal letter of request to him and to Senator Roblin asking for this from our board would be helpful in that effort. So I've drafted up this letter, which was included in the packet. And Mr. Belmont, I don't know, do we need a formal motion to approve this letter, or can we just do it by consensus?
If there's a consensus to do it, I think that's fine, and then we can sign that for you electronically, virtually.
I am in consensus to send the letter. Commissioner Hunt? Oh,
Oops,
you're
you're still
muted.
You're still muted.
I had to find my unmute button. Yes, I certainly support the letter.
Great. End of my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Questions from you, Commissioner Hunt, or anything you wanted to add?
My mute button keeps disappearing on me, or unmute button. No, I have nothing more at this time.
Okay, thank you. Wayne, anything else from you?
Yes, I have two more
Okay.
items, and the first one seems a little anticlimactic in that we actually, as has been um, told to you, had held an emergency meeting on last Monday morning at 7:30 a.m. to actually declare a state of emergency. And this is, really our first meeting post that day on Monday that we've had an opportunity to see how the response has progressed. And as the sheriff indicated, the state has already taken some action based on really the size of the problem and the crisis across the state. The governor actually had declared a state of emergency statewide and now has made the request for federal assistance. But I wanted to at least get in front of you a continued declaration of a state of emergency, which really kind of captures some of the things that we have done, some of the requests we have made, some of the assistance we have sought and received, just to keep ourselves together with this. So I've prepared for you Resolution 20-14-9C, which does articulate some of the things we've done, some of the requests we have made to the state, and will continue to make, because this is not yet done. As indicated by the sheriff and by Commissioner Hall, we're at about 25% containment. There's still a lot of work to do on the fire itself. There will be extensive work around cleanup. We obviously need post-emergency financial and recovery assistance and other aid. And so we're exploring all those avenues. We're doing a great deal of work in those areas, but this would actually memorialize our request for that assistance. So if I could get a motion to authorize this resolution, and again, the number is 20-14-9C, I think that's in order now.
I move we adopt Resolution 20-14-9C.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
And there's just one other matter I wanted to, it sounds kind of a small matter, but important matter. It really is reflective of the kinds of things we have to do in these emergency situations. One of the impacts of the fires in North County is that our franchise solid waste hauler, North Lincoln Sanitary, was impacted both in terms of personally, some of their employees were impacted in the fire zones there and had some issues. And then in terms of the services they provide, significant areas were covered by evacuations or actual destruction of property there. And they have requested that other franchised haulers in the county assist them in their efforts to provide both immediate service and maybe for a longer period of time. And the way our current code works is that we have boundaries for our exclusive franchise areas. They are the entities which can provide services in those areas. So what I'm proposing to do is to adopt a simple order that lifts temporarily in relation to this particular emergency the requirement that they can only serve inside their boundaries. They will work out some arrangements between the three franchised haulers in the county as to who will provide services where. But I thought to assist them in the process and so they feel comfortable that they're not violating their current franchise agreements, that we would go ahead and issue an order. I'm not yet done with that. So the way that would work is under the authority granted to the board under an emergency declaration of emergency. I will prepare an order with some details, have it signed by the chair after review, and then bring it back to you for ratification at the next available meeting. So, but I just wanted to bring that up and make sure that that's an appropriate direction for us to take now.
I have consensus with that process.
I do too.
Okay, Commissioner Hunt.
Yes, I also.
Okay, all right. Does that give you the direction you need, Council
It
Belmont?
does.
Great.
It does. Thank you. And that's
All
the
right.
end of my report.
Okay. Whew. All right. Well, now moving on to our regular ongoing emergency as opposed to our new emerging emergency. My goodness, 2020 has just been a difficult year, but we have our Lincoln County Public Health COVID-19 update presented by our Public Health Director, Rebecca Austin.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Rebecca Austin, Health Department Director, and I would like to say sort of as a wrap up for the HHS responding to help out at the evacuation center here in Newport, that a big shout out to the city of Newport and the staff at the rec center, and to all the volunteers that came out from the faith-based communities. And it was really amazing to see all the people there that were willing to help us out. And HHS was there to help out with the medically fragile people that were coming in, as well as to guard against a COVID outbreak, which you can imagine was pretty difficult, as they had sometimes upwards to 250 people staying overnight the first couple nights. So that was a challenge, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we were somewhat successful in preventing any kind of an outbreak, but time will tell us there. So I just wanted to touch base with you to let you know that fortunately the COVID is slowing down for us. The week ending September 5th, we saw 10 cases, and the week ending on the 12th, we saw only 3 cases. And so far, we've had a quiet weekend, and we are hoping for the best. As you know, this is our second week after Labor Day, so if we can get through this, we feel positive that we are not going to have a big Labor Day outbreak. And then I guess we'll be waiting for another week to make sure that we don't have a big evacuee COVID outbreak from the rec center. So that is really good news. And I would just like to say that this kind of slowdown gives us an opportunity to, I like the word that I hear the firefighters use, mop up. I think it probably means a little different for me, but I'm thinking we're doing a little mopping up right now with some quality assurance work to make sure that the data that we are sending to the state is as accurate as possible. We're getting some new staff onboarded and trained. We are sending some staff on a little vacation, which is very much needed, and we need that. We need to constantly be doing that because people, you know, the fear of burnout is very real. And so, of course, this last week didn't help with that matter much, but we're really trying to stay focused on making sure that people are getting a break so they can come back and be fresh and have their wits about them, because this is important work that we're doing as well. So Christy put up the data that we have so far, 472 cases. We are still testing, and it's about staying pretty flat from what we have been testing. So that's good news. The 23 hospital cases is a cumulative number, and I understand from reports today that we don't have any COVID cases in either hospital, so that's also good news. And we are holding steady at 13 deaths, and let's hope we can keep that number steady for a very long time. And you can see, if Christy will scroll down, that the epi is looking good. Keep going, Christy. It's flattening out. Here we go. Here are the testing. These are cases here. The first one, and then you can see, you can hardly see it. It's just a little blip, a little dot on the line there. That's very good. And then the testing, you can also see is, if you can scroll up a little farther, yeah. And remember, the tail end of our data here is still, we're still getting numbers in. So we are kind of maintaining our testing, which is really good news. So, and I think this is a familiar look also that we've seen, and it's staying low again. We aren't seeing too many outbreaks. I did want to say that we do have sporadic cases, but I think it's because our nurse was on vacation, and she's the one that does a lot of the linking for our outbreaks. So that number could come down. We could be linking more of our sporadic cases to actual outbreaks. So I'm hopeful that that number is going to come down. And also just a note for the rest of our data on the, it's called the reopening page. We don't have that here, but just want to comment that our numbers are so low that we're getting black dots now on some of our metrics instead of the check mark. So don't be alarmed by that. Black dots are also good. So, and then this is just some more data about the cases. You can see that we've really slowed down. Kind of, this will not, this chart, go back a little bit further, the bars on it, you're never going to really see that go down, but what we kind of want to see that do now is flatten, because those are cumulative cases. So by flattening, that means we're just getting either 0 new cases or very small numbers. So you can see that's kind of been the case the last couple weeks. And then I think the last one is our positivity, which is also dropping dramatically, which is good. And you can tell that also by the fact that we don't have very many positive cases in the last couple of weeks. So is there any questions for me?
Not so much a question. First of all, it looks like our cases and overall situation is going down. So that's some good news for this week that I think we could all use. As far as phase 2 goes, I have reached out to OHA and basically asked, we had already previously asked them prior to a phase 2 opening, because it is conditional on meeting criteria, that we actually had a person from OHA on the phone with us to kind of go through that data and have us basically get a thumbs up or thumbs down, or where the concerns might be. And now with what we just recently went through, which may end up with more cases, I have asked them to try to be at our meeting next week to kind of discuss that with us, so we can get some guidance. And for me, it's not just concerned. I think you had mentioned the rec center. It's not just the rec center. I was actually down there and I thought they did about as good of a job as you could do with keeping people distance, but it's also that we have a lot of people that went to, families and friends' houses or coworkers' houses or things like that, because they had nowhere else to go. So I think we just had a lot of people in close proximity to each other. We had the whole community of Lincoln City essentially in other communities.
Right.
So I am worried about potential COVID fallout from this. And so hopefully OHA can provide some guidance, and this isn't just us, this is also statewide. With all of these fires, there's going to be some potential implications to that. So hopefully they'll be able to join us next week and kind of talk through some of this with us.
Yes, I totally agree. There were lots of opportunities for COVID to raise its ugly head again. So we'll kind of hope for the best here and see how things turn out. And we should know, actually, maybe over the weekend, if we're getting more positive cases.
And then my last question, and you kind of alluded to this, but I just wanted to clarify. Were we able, or are we able to maintain our testing throughout this last week and this week with what was going on in the county? I believe our sites were Wallport and Depot Bay. While there was certainly a lot of people coming through Depot Bay was not evacuating itself. So just want to confirm that our testing ability was maintained through the week.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, the Depot Bay and Wallport testing sites have both been moved now. The Depot Bay one went back to the hospital. So they probably, while they were shut down, I'm sure they weren't doing any testing. So there will be some lower testing numbers, although we have been able to send some people to the ED since they have reopened to get tested. So when we needed it, they were there for us, which is so awesome. And then the Wallport site has moved to Newport now. So, and I'm pretty sure that they've been able to maintain their testing. So I think we will see a dip in testing from last week, but I'm sure that things will be getting back in place. And it's kind of nice that we don't have any big outbreaks, that we don't need to go forward with more testing either. So just people that have symptoms that want to be checked is pretty much what we're doing right now.
Okay, yeah, let's hope that's where we stay. Commissioner Hunt, comments or questions for Rebecca?
I may have missed this, but how long will it take to know if there's been a significant change in testing because of the fires?
Yeah, I talked to our CD nurse, Molly Vance, about that over the weekend, and she feels really strongly that we should have an indicator after a week.
Okay.
So if people were, so that's any day now. People started evacuating on Tuesday? Tuesday, Wednesday. So we'll know tomorrow and Wednesday if we start seeing an uptick or not. At least if they're starting to see more people show up at the testing site.
Yeah, I wasn't so much concerned about the percentage. I just was wondering about the volume of the testing, since many services have been disrupted. But it sounds like within a week or a few days, we'll have a pretty good indication.
We should start seeing some indication soon, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Hall, anything?
Nothing other than to say it's nice to see some pretty good news.
Yeah, I guess
couldn't agree with you more.
The last comment that just floated to my head, and I'm sure your team is already on it, but we had hospice patients and care facilities evacuated last week. And again, I think the staff, both our staff and the staff of those facilities, did absolutely the best job they could. But obviously moving our most vulnerable populations, during a pandemic comes with risk. So I'm hoping we're just able to maybe do some monitoring of them. I know we had done kind of proactive testing before, and perhaps we can do that again as we start to get those people back into their regular care facilities.
So Chair Jacobson, if I might, I'd just like to echo that, because I think it's a really important message. I had an opportunity to go over to the Newport Rec Center and frankly the Commons and visit some sites in Toledo last week, particularly Thursday night. And I was very impressed with the efficiency of the system. Certainly at the rec center, Red Cross had ample supplies. They were checking people in. The communication seemed to be effective. I know out in Toledo, there were people at the high school and very limited activities, but certainly and the same was at the Commons. Frankly, there were more horses than I think people, but that I think is a reflection of the fact that people were able to get their horses there. So again, I think it's just outstanding by not only the Health and Human Services staff, but by the other volunteer agencies. So kudos to all. The hard work is noticed and certainly appreciated.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay, I think moving on to our next agenda item. You can go back to the agenda, Christy.
Thank you, Chair. You make me feel better. I was having troubles following with the resolution as it was moving on my screen.
Yeah, I think none of us are operating on full brains and sleep at this point, so we'll get through there. All right, so item D on our agenda is our short-term rental licensing program and code revisions update. I want to say that we had an intent for what this was supposed to be, but with another emergency happening in our county, it has shifted a bit. So originally, this was supposed to be the beginning of picking back up the STR licensing program and code revisions process. That was something we were supposed to do many months ago, but we got caught in the middle of COVID and postponed it. And felt like we had some capacity to pick it back up again and talk not just about our temporary moratorium, but also about other things we wanted to look into previously, like occupancy limits and potential area restrictions or things like that. Those are discussions we said we wanted to have. Got caught in COVID. Our intent was to pick those things back up. Now here we are again in another emergency situation with many people impacted in our county that maybe would not be able to participate in the way they would have wanted to. So I still felt like as chair, it was still important for us to get an update on what was happening with STR. So I've still asked Council Belmont to do that. And then we still have a temporary moratorium that expires at the end of the month that we need to address. But in terms of picking up the much larger conversations, we are going to temporarily delay that. But we're not saying we're not going to have them. We just unfortunately have to delay a little bit longer, but I will let Wayne take it away from here.
Thank you, Chair Jacobson. And yes, and of course, not only is it just the community that's impacted out there, but our staff. I mean, in this kind of an event, as it is with COVID, it's all hands on deck. So many of us, including myself, who would love to be working on other things, have been called in to work on the emergency. And just even a note on a personal note here, seeing each of the individual commissioners as well as other staff that are on this call, all taking shifts at the call center to respond to people and talk to people it's rewarding. I'm not sure that other counties would have the same kind of participation from their elected officials that we've had. So that's fantastic. But yes, we were all hands on deck this week. So I'm not going to actually give you much in the way of an STR licensing program or code revision update, but just to let you know that we will be back in front of you with some timelines and some additional information in the next couple of weeks. The one item that we do need to talk about, though, because it is a time sensitive item, is the fact that you did originally adopt a resolution which suspended the processing of new short-term licenses under the county code. And then you extended that, and that extended time period ends on September 30th, 2020. So that's coming up pretty quickly. So I was going to seek some guidance from you as to what to do with that particular action that you took. I do have a recommendation if you'd like to hear that.
Yeah, I think we'd like to hear your recommendation. Sure.
Okay, given the fact that I think that one of the big topics of discussion will be, as it has been across the county and really across the state, is the question of whether or not you put a cap on the number of short-term rentals, however that might look, whatever the terms of that might be, that you need time to make that decision. I would actually recommend that you extend this resolution another time. And given again the fact that we've had to unfortunately delay our discussions on this for a variety of reasons here, I would actually recommend that you extend the suspension of processing new short-term licenses until December 31st, 2020. That should give us ample time to get this conversation underway, to really get some direction for where we're going, and then give people a better idea of what the next steps are going to be.
Questions or comments, Commissioner Hunt, for Wayne?
Just refresh my memory, Wayne, but this prohibition on new STR VRD licenses is really only applicable in unincorporated areas of the county?
That is correct.
Because I've had several comments from people that, they're new rentals in the area. And I think it's important to, again, emphasize the fact that the cities have different limitations, if any, on the licensing of STRs, so that this resolution or extension of our order, which I support, really is applicable only to properties in the unincorporated area of the county.
That is correct.
Yeah, good clarification there. I too have gotten a lot of comments from people. I think maybe because of the potential ballot measure, thinking that this was for all of Lincoln County and not just the unincorporated parts. Commissioner Hall, questions or comments for Wayne?
I am supportive of this approach for the reasons that Mr. Belmont cited.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, so procedurally, I believe what I was just going to ask Mr. Belmont, did you say a new resolution or a vote to just continue the existing one with a modified ending date, or what's procedurally? Just wanted to clarify your recommendation.
Sure. If there's a consensus to move forward with this, I'll prepare another resolution for you to adopt actually next week. which would extend the suspension until December 31st, 2020.
I'd be supportive of that.
I support it.
I support it as well.
Okay, that's the direction I need. Thank you.
Okay. And so is that coming back to us next week to formally
Yes.
adopt? Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. Anything else from you, Council Belmont?
Nothing more on this matter at this time.
Okay. All right, next up under Commissioner reports, Commissioner Hall, do you have a report to share other than the one that you did earlier?
I do not. Thanks.
Okay. Commissioner Hunt, do you have a report to share?
I'll just again state what Wayne said. I think the support that county staff, and certainly it's not just, sorry, it's cuckoo clock time. Okay, it's 4 o'clock. Sorry for the interruption. The cuckoo clock likes to be timely. But again, I think I just want to say thanks to everyone that's volunteered in the call center. It's not just been 3 commissioners, but other elected officials, other department directors, and certainly members of staff from many departments. So again, I don't think thanks can be said enough.
I totally agree. And there's been people in the call center that themselves have been displaced and are
Yes.
still willing to come in and help. So it's been phenomenal.
I questioned one volunteer and asked him if he had a sleeping bag he was sleeping in, because it seemed like every time I was in there, he was there.
Yeah, we have an amazing community for sure. Under my report, I just want to give a shout out to Cascade Civil, which is a kind of engineering building company that the county currently has a contract with to build our new bridge on East Devils Lake Road. I was out there on, let's see, what it must have been Wednesday when all the evacuations were happening. I was there at Incident Command with Roy Kenyon, our Public Works Director, trying to make sure his crews were doing what they needed to do and trying to assist where possible. We went out to that site because our whole bridge is down in that area and not passable at this point. And their lead contractor from Cascade Civil was there. When we first got there in the morning, there was a local barn that was trying to swim horses across East Devils Lake. Very dangerous. There was also a line of cars trying to get through. We had a plan earlier in the day to put plates down, but because of the emergency happening, those plates were not able to get there. Contractor stepped in and said that he would be able to build a road in quotes, not like a super great road, but at least something to be able to get people to walk or potentially drive across. His staff was amazing. And within about an hour and a half, they had a passable footbridge and actually a road for smaller cars to be able to go across. His staff was there and personally walked horses across, as did Roy and myself, and were able to get people out into safety. So just a big shout out to them, just going completely above and beyond what a contractor typically does for us. So they were amazing and just, right people at the right time to be there. So big thank you to them. All right, is there any other business from commissioners? Commissioner Hunt, anything else?
Nothing from me.
Commissioner Hall, anything else?
Nothing from me. Again,
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Wayne, anything else?
Nothing from me. Thanks.
All right, and is there anything else from staff that's on the phone?
Just one last thing from me, commissioners. Sure. I think there was a question, I believe, from Commissioner Hunt last week about activity and during Labor Day weekend, and if any citations were written. I was able to, in passing, find out that we did write 3 parking citations in the Otter Rock area on the Labor Day weekend, and numerous warnings to have people move that were there before they actually violated the law. So we actually were trying to get ahead of it. So I believe the extra signage and having somebody around that area helped the problem for the holiday weekend. So.
Well, thank you for the information and thank you for the good work.
Yeah, thank you for that. I had heard from an Otter Rock resident that the kind of having the parking enforcement officer there on site through the weekend did seem to help a lot in making sure that, you know, important areas like fire hydrants and stop signs and stuff were not blocked by traffic. So thanks for
And
that.
obviously, that's not going to be a normal occurrence. We don't actually have a parking enforcement officer, but
Well,
it was something we did for the holiday weekend to address the issue, and hopefully
yeah.
the word will get out and correct itself.
Code enforcement officer that temporarily became parking enforcement is
Yes.
probably better stated. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and adjourn, but I do want to make sure people are aware of our next Board of Commissioners meeting, which is Monday, September 21st, 2020 at 3 p.m. And please, if you want, you know, more information, again, reach out to the call center for that. Also, if you have not already, please sign up for Lincoln Alerts, which is on our homepage now. If you click on wildfires and scroll down the page, Lincoln Alerts is also on there, and you can sign up by zip code. So if you're still waiting for information on when you can go back, that's a great way to know as well. All right, meeting is adjourned, and take care, everybody.